Today we're going to stay in the leadership space like we were last week, because one of the pieces that I just wanted to take the opportunity to share with you was a little bit more of the context and giving you some examples of how the different aspects of what I've shared with you around how you can merge money and meaning and how you can genuinely take that internal camp approach where these ideas are woven into how you operate your business. I wanted to give you a little bit more of the background into what they look like for me in my business, and so that you could understand some of those drivers that are shaping how I make decisions in my business. Because just like I've encouraged you to ask a bunch of these questions and to get really clear on what it is you care about, what you're trying to contribute to in the world, and then how you're uniquely positioned to do that through your business, these are all things that I have done in my own businesses over the years. And my hope is that in sharing some of that with you today, it will both get you to know and understand me a bit more, and also that just like with the questions I've shared with you and the different examples and stories I've told, it's another piece of the puzzle that might help some of this drop down for you into being more practical and for you to be able to connect this to your own work. One of the big pieces when I say that we're focusing in on this aspect of leadership in my work is that I always talk about the fact that there's one of the common threads in the different businesses I've run and in my career has been that two of my great loves are business and leadership. And so in the way that I have described and articulated the core values for our business Benefit Capital, and in the way I've structured what our mission is and what our vision is, all of those pieces have woven into them a focus on business, specifically small and medium-sized business, and then a commitment to supporting other leaders, because the role of leadership is really something that I feel very passionately about. I'm guessing this has been your experience too, but for me, one of the things that I have found disappointing over the course of my career is that as a leader, very rarely, if ever, are we in positions where there's genuine support and structured spaces for us to get the support that we need as a leader, because we tend to establish patterns early with everyone we interact with, even if they are technically someone who could support us. So even if we have a board member, when you are a certain kind of personality and you're used to operating in the world in a certain way, pretty quickly dynamics set in motion that we solve the problems, we make things happen, we make decisions, and people tend to then rely on us. So the weight of a lot of the risk, the decision-making, all of those pieces tend to be on our shoulders. And the aspects that I'm going to share with you today around our core values and just giving you some examples of how I genuinely care about and want to support you as a leader come from that place of my own experience of not being supported and feeling like I'm always in that position where the expectation is that all problems are mine to solve and no one else is there to kind of share that load. The reason why I'm going to talk you through not all of our core values, I'm not going to go through all of the descriptions because I'm quite wordy, in case you haven't noticed. So there's long descriptions for my core values for the business. But I want you to be able to see some specific examples here of the fact that when I teach you to think about values in a more meaningful and integrated way, they are so much more powerful when we've connected all of these dots. So if you don't think about your core values just as something that's a poster on the wall, if you really think about it as one of the pieces of the puzzle that collectively allow you to build a really robust business that you're proud of and that is doing meaningful work in the world, and is financially stable, then that's where values come into their own. So let me talk you through some of the components in our core values at Benefit Capital that speak into this aspect of how important it is for me that we are focused on not just a capacity building or capability development for businesses to be able to build a better business and to be able to merge money and meaning, but to also do that in a way that genuinely cares about leaders like you. I'm going to focus on two of our core values and read you through some sections of that. So one of our core values is focused around stepping into the unknown with courage. And in part of the description there, we specifically spell out that we recognise that these acts of courage are risky. So we intentionally create safe and supportive spaces for our team and the leaders we work with as they navigate the unknown. I'm reading you that description because part of what I want you to start to see is that by me laying out and actually articulating some detailed components of what it actually looks like in action, what we actually care about, and what we're saying are the ways that we behave. Because when I think about core values, I'm always looking for describing them so I know what does that look like in action. These descriptions and taking that aspect of how important leadership and supporting leaders is in our work, not just delivering programs that help someone run a better business, but where they themselves as the leader experience more freedom and fulfillment in their work. It is written down and quite explicit across these different pieces. And in that wording I just gave you, what it means is that we have this to come back to. I always talk to you when I talk about the Jasper Blueprint as being able to have these customized decision-making tools, right? The filters that help us as a leader go from having 100 different things that we can't differentiate in our decision-making to being able to have a way to cull and bring down and prioritize what we spend our time and effort on and how we make our decisions. So they're actually informed by what is important to us. I'm able to use the descriptions of my core values in our business to help me make decisions because it is so embedded in these values, these critical elements for me of always bringing my mind back to, is this actually supporting leaders? Is it acknowledging the risks they're taking and that that's a tightrope walk that very often can feel risky and that you're alone in that? And is it also really helping them genuinely build a stronger, better business that achieves those other aspects of what's important to me? The second piece I want to just jump into a little bit again in our values is around the aspects of the value that we have of move beyond the conversation. This has been something that's been present in 2 of the different businesses that I've run. But when I think about giving you an example again of how this aspect of what I deeply care about around leaders and supporting leaders, how it is integrated into our mission and the purpose of our organisation, but also directly into our business model, is demonstrated in the wording here of this value. So in our description, we say, we make a difference by equipping small and medium business leaders to be more impactful and more fulfilled. We believe that each person and each business can do good now, so we work to find the win-win. What I've done by the way I describe that value is I make it really clear that if I'm trying to build a business that is actually creating this win-win, where it's important to me, but it also delivers results to the clients, where it is delivering on the money side in terms of it builds a stronger, more robust business and it's financially secure, but it also delivers a business that is making more consistent quality impacts in the world. It's these types of descriptions and articulations of something like a core value that helps us actually make clear in our own minds as the decision maker, but then to share with our team to be able to see that as a business, we're really clear that we make a difference in the world only if we do these things well. That is the best way that you can sharpen your focus and not be distracted by all of the shiny things that are out there and all of the great things you could potentially do and spend time on. It's the best reason I would give you around why this kind of work that we do with our development of a Jasper Blueprint and always tying it back to our business model is so important. Because when you go to the consistent pattern of what leaders are always saying to me around the overwhelm, the massive scope and scale of how many decisions they're having to make in a rapidly changing context, unless you get really clear on what you care about, and unless it's not just a beautiful dream or vision of an ideal future, unless it is actually then practically pulled down into you articulating how does that affect how you behave, how you make decisions, and what does it look like in your actual core business operations, then it's a nice conversation at a strategic offsite. It might be a nice little infographic in your annual report or a poster on the wall, but it won't actually help you with that underlying problem of being overwhelmed and having no filters to streamline your decision making. This work and these examples that I'm giving you here in our core values are the sort of the proof points or the ways to see that the practical next step, once you've done the work, you've got the clarity, you've got the articulation, is that you're not every time you make a decision or every time there's 50 things in front of you, you're not starting from a blank sheet of paper. You have a reference point to run something through and use as that touchstone. Our focus is on providing that space, the support and the structure that you as leaders need to have the clarity on those foundations, to craft a business model that actually makes it possible, and then to communicate those articulations effectively with your team. Then you can get back to operating in your zone of genius rather than being in that trapped space of being in the weeds and micromanaging. Because as leaders, you've carried enough of the risk and shouldered the weight of that on your own for long enough. And we want you to be inspired to think about your business in a whole new way, not just as that enabler for your generosity on the back of the creation of wealth, but as the platform itself that directly contributes to the issues, causes, and people you care about. And the commitment on my end to you is that in helping create that support and that space for you, we want to make sure that you're not doing that alone and that you can get to the clarity, you can definitely build the better, stronger, more robust business, but that you do it in a way that is also fulfilling and brings meaning for you as a leader. That is just as important to me as you running a business that is contributing and taking seriously your contributions in the world.